That headline alone shook the music world this week. In a courtroom packed with media, lawyers, and stunned fans, the man once known as Puff Daddy, then P. Diddy, and now simply Sean Diddy Combs, sat stone-faced as the jury delivered a stunning mixed verdict. After weeks of testimony, explosive allegations, and a high-profile defense strategy, Diddy was found guilty on 2 serious charges, and just as shocking, acquitted on 3 others. It's a verdict that's left the public speechless and the music industry reeling. The courtroom silence when the verdict was read felt heavier than any beat Diddy ever dropped. You could hear people gasp. This wasn't just about music, celebrity, or even money. It was about power, accountability, and justice. Diddy, a man who built an empire from street hustle to global mogul, is now facing a future that could include years behind bars. What exactly happened in that courtroom? What does this verdict really mean? And what's next for one of hip-hop's biggest icons? Let's break it all down, because the details are even more jaw-dropping than the headlines. The case that brought Diddy into this courtroom had been brewing for years. It all escalated after federal agents raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami in March 2024. That moment, broadcast live across the internet, marked a turning point. Until then, Diddy had mostly avoided serious legal consequences, despite years of rumors, lawsuits, and whispered stories in the entertainment world. But now, the government was officially knocking. The charges stemmed from a federal investigation that linked Diddy to a suspected criminal enterprise, with allegations ranging from human trafficking and racketeering to illegal drug distribution and assault. According to the Department of Justice, the case was built on more than a year of surveillance, digital evidence, financial tracking, and testimonies from former associates and alleged victims. The indictment was a bombshell. During the trial, which lasted 6 intense weeks, prosecutors laid out what they described as a long-standing pattern of manipulation, coercion, and violence. Key witnesses included former employees, collaborators, and several women who claimed Diddy had used his influence, power, and resources to trap them in exploitative situations. Some of their testimonies were harrowing, detailing alleged physical abuse, threats, surveillance, and forced drug use in environments controlled by Diddy and his entourage. On the other side, Diddy's defense team painted a completely different picture. They argued that their client was the target of a political and media witch hunt, that the prosecution had leaned on unverified accusations, twisted facts, and character assassination. They emphasized Diddy's decades-long contributions to music, fashion, and philanthropy. His lawyers insisted that while Diddy may have lived a wild celebrity lifestyle, he never crossed into criminal behavior. In the end, the jury's verdict reflected just how complicated this case really was. Diddy was convicted on 2 federal charges: conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking and obstruction of justice. According to court records, the jury found sufficient evidence that Diddy not only participated in a trafficking operation, but also took active steps to silence witnesses and destroy key evidence once the investigation became public. Prosecutors revealed encrypted messages, surveillance footage, and even testimony from a private investigator who claimed Diddy paid him to intimidate one of the victims into recanting her story. But surprisingly, the jury acquitted Diddy on 3 other major charges: racketeering, drug distribution, and money laundering. These acquittals seem to stem from what the jury described as insufficient corroborated evidence. Several jurors told reporters outside the courthouse that while they believed some shady things may have happened behind the scenes, the prosecution didn't meet the full legal burden of proof on those counts. Still, the 2 convictions carry serious weight. Legal experts say Diddy could be facing up to 25 years in federal prison. The obstruction charge alone carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, while the trafficking-related conspiracy can carry anywhere from 15 years to life, depending on sentencing enhancements. Because it's a federal case, parole isn't an option. What's next? For starters, Diddy was denied bail, a rare but powerful move by the judge. The reasoning? The court deemed him a flight risk and a potential danger to witnesses. That means Diddy will remain in federal custody until his sentencing hearing, which is currently scheduled for September 12, 2025. That hearing is already shaping up to be another media circus. The prosecution is expected to argue for the maximum sentence, citing the severity of the crimes and Diddy's influence. The defense will likely push for leniency, claiming that Diddy has no prior convictions and highlighting his past charitable work. Meanwhile, the fallout outside the courtroom has been just as dramatic. Several of Diddy's business ventures have crumbled since the verdict. Revolt TV, the music and lifestyle network he founded, has suspended operations. Sean John, his once iconic fashion line, has gone silent on social media. Ciroc Vodka and De Leon Tequila, brands he famously helped push to the mainstream, have issued statements distancing themselves from the mogul. Partners are pulling out, investors are backing away, and artists who once called Diddy a mentor are going quiet. Even music platforms are reacting. Spotify removed Diddy from several curated playlists, and Apple Music placed a temporary block on promoting his recent work. Radio stations in major US cities have started pulling his older tracks. It's as if the industry is trying to scrub him from the public image overnight. But not everyone is celebrating the verdict. Some fans remain fiercely loyal, claiming Diddy is the victim of cancel culture and a corrupt system. Others, especially within the hip-hop community, are calling this a long overdue reckoning. As one rapper posted, "The truth always comes out, even when you're a billionaire." Social media has been ablaze with debates, reactions, and hot takes. The hashtags #JusticeForVictims and #DiddyVerdict have trended repeatedly, with users divided on whether justice was truly served. Victim advocacy groups, meanwhile, are calling the verdict a historic win, comparing it to the Harvey Weinstein case and describing it as a turning point for accountability in entertainment. What's striking is just how far Diddy's fall has been. This is a man who once stood on stage at the MTV VMAs shouting, "Can't stop, won't stop." A man who turned Bad Boy Records into one of the most influential labels in hip-hop. A Grammy winner, a billionaire, a mogul. Now he's locked in a federal detention center, facing a future of prison cells instead of sold-out arenas. The broader impact of this case can't be overstated. It's already forcing uncomfortable conversations within the music industry about power, about who gets protected, and about what kind of behavior gets tolerated behind the scenes when money and fame are involved. Artists, executives, and former collaborators are now re-evaluating past partnerships, NDAs, and silent deals that might no longer be safe to ignore. And it's not over yet. Sources inside the DOJ say that more investigations may be coming. Some of the evidence presented at trial hinted at wider circles of involvement. Other celebrities, managers, promoters. The feds may not be done. Several witnesses have agreed to cooperate with ongoing probes in exchange for reduced charges. This could just be the beginning of a much bigger takedown. So where does that leave Sean Diddy Combs? Alone, silent, and awaiting sentencing for crimes that could lock him away for decades. The man who once danced in shiny suits and partied with presidents is now confined to a 9x12 cell. His empire, built over 3 decades, is crumbling by the day. His name, once a symbol of success, now carries the stain of scandal. What happens next will define not just Diddy's legacy, but the industry's too. If you want more real-time updates, legal breakdowns, and in-depth stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're tracking every twist in this unprecedented case. And trust me, this story is far from over. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.